Seriously, how is this still being treated like normal gaming drama? $1 billion is not trust us bro money, apparently. Star Citizen just crossed the kind of money line that stops being funny and starts sounding like a financial audit. Look, people can make the same jokes forever about delays, roadmaps, spaceships, and unfinished dreams, but $1 billion changes the joke. Because, at that level, ambition stops being a cute defense and starts being a financial obligation. Imagine hearing that a game has raised more than some countries spend on public programs, then seeing another $5,000 concept ship sitting beside the headline like a punchline nobody even had to write. Nothing about that sounds normal. Fine, supporters will say the Anvil Odin pledge is optional, nobody is forced to buy it, whales can spend their own money, and the rest of the community benefits. Sure, that argument has a piece of truth in it. But optional does not mean invisible, and voluntary does not mean criticism is suddenly unfair. Here's the situation. Star Citizen has reportedly crossed $1 billion in player funding after roughly 14 years of development, public alpha access, massive ship sales, and constant promises about what the universe will eventually become. Meanwhile, the full release is still not a clean, dated, finished thing people can point to without adding 10 explanations. Honestly, that is where the entire conversation changes. Before, people could argue about patience, scope, technology, crowdfunding, and whether critics were being too cynical. Now, the question becomes much sharper: what are we funding at this point? Perhaps the answer is a groundbreaking space MMO that still needs time. Possibly the answer is a beautiful technical monster that grew beyond every original promise. Maybe the answer is a business model that discovered unfinished hope can be more profitable than a finished product. Frankly, that's the problem. Nobody needs to pretend the developers are lazy to see the incentive issue. Anyone can notice the contradiction without insulting the fans. People can question why the money keeps arriving while the finish line keeps floating away without wishing failure on the project. Yes, real work is happening. Yes, the ships look great, but progress doesn't erase the price tag. Nevertheless, enjoyment does not erase the structure around it. Progress does not erase the price tag. Scope does not erase responsibility. Difficulty does not erase the fact that customers have been asked to fund this dream for more than a decade. And once the number hits $1 billion, the dream gets judged by a different standard. See, this is the part defenders hate, because they want the project graded like a fragile experiment when something breaks, then celebrated like a premium universe when money comes in. You can't have it both ways. Either this is a rough alpha test, where everything is temporary and disposable, or it is a live experience worth selling with luxury-level confidence. Pick a lane, because the marketing and the excuses keep pulling in opposite directions. Right now, the alpha label is doing more work than any spaceship in the game. Normally, alpha means early, unfinished, unstable, and not ready for final judgment. There, alpha starts feeling less like a development stage and more like permanent legal armor. Bugs, delays, wipes, missing features get softened by alpha. Yet the store never feels alpha when it is time to sell the next dream. Suddenly, the rough test environment becomes polished enough for events, pledges, limited concepts, and massive hype cycles. Contradiction is why people get angry. Testing itself is not the issue. Glitches themselves are not the scandal. Complexity itself is not the crime. Rather, the project wants patience from players while taking money with full confidence. Next, Alpha 4.8 comes along and gives critics the cleanest example possible. The in-game economy needed a major wipe after duplication exploits and other economy-breaking problems poisoned the system. Specifically, players were told earned money, in-game bought vehicles, items, resources, reputation, and certain rewards would reset, while account-entitled items and some blueprint progress would remain. Look, if the economy is broken, you have to wipe it. Everyone gets that. Obviously, if people are duplicating currency or resources, the economy cannot be trusted. Fairly, defenders are right when they say a corrupted test economy has to be cleaned before future systems can be measured. However, the optics are brutal. After 14 years and $1 billion, we had to wipe the economy because duping broke the system lands like a symbolic failure, not just a patch note. Picture the scale for a second. A universe funded like national infrastructure is still dealing with the kind of exploit mess people associate with unstable test servers. Yes, online games get exploited. Absolutely, live economies are difficult. Granted, even finished games sometimes need rollbacks, emergency fixes, and hard resets. Still, this project sold itself as the future of gaming, and the future keeps tripping over the same old online game problems. Worse, The timing around DefenseCon makes the whole thing feel like a showroom attached to a construction site. New players get invited in during a free fly event, try ships, feel the scale, walk around the dream, and see the promise from the inside. Nearby, the store gravity kicks in. Vehicles become more than tools. Purchases become more than transactions. Identity gets wrapped around ownership, loyalty, patience, and belief. And while players are staring at a wiped inventory, CIG drops the receipt for the dream, the $5,000 Odin. Odin, that $5,000 concept pledge, is not just a price tag, it is a perfect symbol of the absurdity. Someone will say, again, that nobody has to buy it. Great, but nobody has to buy luxury watches either, and people still get to talk about what the pricing says. When a $1 billion unfinished project sells another extremely expensive unfinished vehicle, the criticism writes itself. I get what they're saying, but optional is not a magic shield against scrutiny. Monetization can still shape development priorities. Pricing can still train the community to accept strange standards. Storefront choices can still make outsiders ask whether the game is being built to release or built to keep fundraising. This is where it falls apart. Critics point at the money, and defenders answer with ambition. Skeptics point at the delays, and defenders answer with scope. Customers point at wipes, and defenders answer with alpha. Viewers point at the store, and defenders answer with choice. Eventually, every individual defense may sound reasonable on its own, but together they form a shield around a system that should make people uncomfortable. Basically, the frame keeps changing whenever the criticism lands. Broken systems get waved away as alpha. Aggressive storefronts get waved away as choice. Distant releases get waved away as ambition. Absurd funding gets waved away as proof that the community believes. That is not a clean argument. Goalposts are moving with a space helmet on. Again, I am not saying the players are wrong for having fun. Plenty of them have real stories, real memories, real screenshots, real friendships, and real reasons to stay. Some people want a space sim so badly that even the broken version gives them something no other game gives. Fair enough. Respect that part. Even so, the existence of fun does not cancel the existence of a business model. Enjoyment is not a receipt for trust. Loyalty is not proof that criticism is fake. Community passion is not evidence that incentives are healthy. Actually, the loyalty might be the most impressive thing here. Veteran backers have defended this project for years, through delays, wipes, memes, controversy, store backlash, and endless arguments. Many are not just defending a game anymore. One group is defending its patience. Another group is defending past purchases. Others are defending the version of the future they believed in. Once that happens, doubt starts feeling personal. Criticism feels like mockery. Questions feel like attacks. Sunk cost stops being just money and becomes identity. Creators know this, which is why every Star Citizen headline turns into a content storm. Reddit knows this, which is why every patch discussion becomes jokes, anger, essays, and people accusing each other of bad faith. Forums know this, which is why a wipe can become a courtroom debate about whether the project is visionary or absurd. CIG knows at minimum that attention keeps the machine alive. Coverage brings curiosity. Curiosity brings free fly players. Free fly players see ships. Displays lead to pledges. Checkout pages fund more development. Development creates more promises. Promises create more patience. Patience creates more controversy. Controversy creates more coverage. Round and round it goes. Pattern is the bigger issue, and it is not just about one wipe or one concept ship. Structurally, the funding model rewards continuation. Financially, finishing the product would force a different kind of judgment. Publicly, a finished release would invite reviews, scores, comparisons, missing feature lists, and a hard line between promise and delivery. Indefinitely, the alpha state keeps the dream flexible. Conveniently, every unfinished piece can still be imagined as perfect tomorrow. Tomorrow is the product. Hope is the product. Access is the product. Expectation is the product. Additionally, the news angle matters because this is not only internet dunking anymore. Context matters because the milestone, the wipe, the free fly event, and the concept pledge all arrived in the same public conversation. Separately, each detail can be explained away with enough patience. Together, they create the image of a machine that turns controversy into oxygen. Audience trust gets strained when every practical failure is temporary, but every sale is immediate. Delivery-wise, this needs to be said cleanly, not whispered under background noise, because the whole argument lives in the contrast. Vocally, hit the $1 billion line like a verdict, then hit the $5,000 ship like the receipt. Call that cynical if you want, but the money says the model works. Morally, that does not make everyone involved evil. Practically, it does make the situation uncomfortable. Technically, Squadron 42 could still land well and change the temperature. Conceivably, Star Citizen 1.0 could arrive and make years of mockery look short-sighted. Hopefully, the people who waited forever get something worthy of the wait. Personally, I would rather see that happen than watch another ambitious project become a warning label. Until then, skepticism is not hate. Accountability is not harassment. Blunt criticism is not betrayal. No, people are not required to clap because the scope is big. Wait, actually, that is the trick. Big scope keeps being used as both explanation and distraction. Hold on, because ambition can explain why something is hard, but it cannot explain away every bad look. Listen, $1 billion is not a vibe. Clearly, $1 billion is the money standard. Ultimately, Star Citizen did not just sell spaceships, it sold tomorrow, and tomorrow is still not here.